countdown.
Yay.
Yay. I like how they give you this countdown, though.
Mm-hmm. And welcome to the Blast from the Past with Jay and LaTrisha. LaTrisha, where are you?
Woo!
Well, there she is.
Insert the canned applause wherever it is. So, welcome back, everybody, to Blast of the Past with Jay and myself. So, hope you guys are ready to. There it is. Yes. So, hope you're ready to sit down and have a talk with us. Let's see. We got a fair amount of things to talk about. This conversation can get pretty heavy, so we're gonna go ahead and throw out that trigger warning real quick. If you feel triggered in any way, remember, you can always seek a licensed professional, whether that is your therapist, your spiritual advisor. I mean, spiritual advisors can be licensed professionals, right, Jay? Do you know? I don't know. Maybe I lost him. But anyways, so make sure you check out to yours. Oh, wait, there he is. Did you hear what I was saying, Jay?
Oh, absolutely. No, I was here. It's just that for some reason, whenever I'm not visible in the show, then my sound is also gone. So
right, no worries. Do you know if most spiritual advisors like priests and stuff are licensed professionals?
they would be if they come through the church, I guess. But other than that, the government doesn't do any spiritual licensing, as far as I know.
Okay. Well, either way, if the current conversation triggers you in any way, please speak to your therapist. But outside of that, we just want you to, sip some water, take a few breaths. The world is on fire right now, but we are going to do our best to get through it, and we're going to use the stars to help you get through it. Speaking of which, our show is brought to you by Astromegistus. That is our online platform, so you can find your astrologist to help you with some of the things that may happen in your life. Maybe you're, getting a change in your love relationship. Maybe you're having a transition in your life. You're getting married, or you're having a baby, or you're moving. Maybe you're trying to move and you're trying to figure out the best place for you to move. Maybe you're trying to start a business and you want to know when's a good day to launch this business. Or should I do the business in this field or do it in this field? Or maybe I should fire this person. Maybe I should quit. These are answers that we are here to ask to help, or these are questions we are here to answer for you. So remember, you can reach out to us at astromegistus.com. The link is in the description box. So come in, check us out. Let's see. So Jay, how have you been in the past couple of days since our last show?
I'm not sure. I wondered sometimes if I am actually. I don't know if I've been. I'm working on the process of being rather than having been.
I totally understand that.
Yeah. So I'm just running from one thing to another, and we're still early with the company and everything. So anybody who is trying the website, please bear with us. We are aware that sometimes there are still some glitches that we're trying to work out, but by and large, one thing that is for sure, LaTrisha said that the world is on fire, but actually so are our astrologers. They're all on fire, waiting for people to come, and they love to be of help, to guide, to give support, to coach, the whole 9 yards, and then a bag of chips. So just come on in. And by the way, if you feel that you need some assistance, you can always send us an email and say, hey, you know what, I'm trying to do this or that, I'm looking for this or that, and how do I do this? And you will get an answer within 24 hours for sure, most likely much faster than that. Yes. Speaking of being on fire, LaTrisha, where's your fire coming from?
Man, my fire is coming from, because are we officially in Mercury retrograde? Because I feel like we are.
Well, it could well be.
I feel like we are. I have not checked the chart yet. I've been checking a couple of other charts, especially one of the charts that we are going to be going over today. And then also trying to disseminate news and will disseminate, process, and help out where I can, because unless you've been living under a proverbial rock, or you just have so much money that this does not concern you, is that there has been a disruption in the program that helps with disseminating food to families who live below a certain economy line, that is also known as SNAP here in the United States. So the current government agency has decided they were going to get rid of SNAP, but that once they get rid of that SNAP benefit for a lot of people, that government assistance program will pretty much not have a problem, but it will pretty much end food assistance for over 45 million Americans. So I believe that we have an estimated over 330 million Americans living in the United States. So that will affect a significant amount of people. And there's a lot of, controversy around it. There are some, beliefs about who is on SNAP. That have been very negative and been spread like wildfire due to AI, unfortunately. And finding a way to help the people that are truly in need of help. So that has been one of the things that I kind of been helping with on social media, is getting news around so that people can find food, because winter is on its way and it's going to be a very cold winter. So if you are able to help, donate to your local food bank, volunteer, disseminate, information, help people understand what is real and what is not, because AI is out there and a lot of people are using AI to their wants and desires, and it's not always in a good way. And that is also one of the main topics that we are going to be talking about today. So, over the past couple of weeks, we have been talking about Saturn, Big Daddy Saturn in the sky, how it affects us going through our oppositions and our Saturn returns, how it can bring structure and or limitation into our life. But it also can affect how we relate to others, especially when parent-child relationships. So now we're going to look at Saturn in a way, because one thing that a lot of people do not consider with Saturn is that it is security. And in this case, it can mean food security. So how would you look for that in your chart? So let's bring up the chart for our country, Jay. Well, my country, at least. I mean, it's technically your country now, too, isn't it?
This is my land. This is your land, right?
His name is my name, too, as they say. So if you are looking for nourishment, if you're looking for things that can affect your health, one of the places you would look at is your sixth house. So we pulled up the American birth chart. So this is the birth chart of the United States of America, July 4th, 1776, at 4:50 p.m. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That was when the Declaration of Independence was signed. And this is the information we have for it. There are a couple of contingencies for this time for the chart, but we are going by, this is the Sibley chart, correct?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so this is a Sibley chart. This is the chart that we're going to be using. So we are looking at the sixth house. And why the sixth house is generally because this is where we focus on not just our short-term day-to-day routines, but also for the things that have to do with the body in terms of nourishment, food security, health, things that can affect your health. So if you're looking at the first house as your general well-being, the sixth house is going to tell you those things that that can help or hurt your well-being.
So when we say we look into this at the moment, are we doing that in context with where Saturn is placed during its transit, or are we just talking about in general the sixth house being that, and what does it mean in the U.S., like food security with the U.S., and how do we apply that to the personal situation of somebody living in the country?
So I think with the way we're looking at it, we're looking at where the sixth house is set up for the U.S. as of its birth. Then we're going to look at what is the sixth house and where is Saturn placed in relation to it in the current chart as of today. So anybody can kind of take that and apply it to their own birth charts, or you can get a reading with us at astromegistus.com, and we can do that for you. So right now we kind of see in the birth chart of the US, Saturn is in the 10th house. That's kind of, think about it, where you stand out and shine. This is where your business is. So it can be very restrictive. And it's also in Libra, so it tries to be fair. The 6th house for the US birth chart is in Taurus. So we're looking at things. This can be grounding. This can be, in a sense, bountiful in ways of making it grow to be more. What else do you see, Jay?
Well, I mean, when I'm looking at this, it's not by angle because it's a little bit too far off, but I
Mm,
do actually see, when we look at the sun is fairly strong, right? And the sun here, it's 13 degree. Cancer is in on the cusp of the eighth house,
mm,
but with Jupiter and Venus, we call that they're under the beam of the sun, right? Because they're
mm-hmm.
they're they're within the, let's say, sphere of influence, and so they're a little bit inhibited. I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So we have a Venus Jupiter conjunction, which typically is actually something positive, and that is in the seventh house. So we could, of course, go into that as well. But
Yeah, but one thing
relating,
before we get
Mhm.
into that, well, I forgot to mention Venus is the ruler of the 6th house in this chart.
Correct. Exactly. So, and not just that, it's also the dispositor, which is what we call the planet that rules a sign. So,
Mm,
Venus rules the sign Libra, and Saturn is in the sign Libra. So, the Saturn in this chart is in Libra. So, Venus actually is the dispositor here
wow.
of Saturn. But at the same time, it's part of this what we call a stellium together with the sun. And
Mm-hmm.
that stellium is in a square with that Saturn. So we do have a situation going on between that, but then Saturn again receives Venus. So because it's, he is in her sign, basically in her realm, if you want. And it's interesting to see how that actually plays out. So we could do this on a much deeper level, of course, but that probably would be too much for this, because we also want to keep it always on a. I mean, I'm in big favor of going macro and micro on these in these talk shows, but
Right.
we can't get too far away from what we actually wanted to talk about, which is also Saturn being on the cusp of the fourth house in this chart, which is the opposition, of course, to the MC. So this is the homeland. So we're dealing with homeland situations, but then also this food nutrition stuff comes in, and with Venus conjunct Jupiter, Jupiter always expands. So the question would also be, what's going on here with the expansion of food and food supply, and what kind of food are we eating, And of course, then the moon plays into that, and the moon being in the third house in Aquarius, So this is making it interesting again. But like I said, let's stick to the somewhat more like direct
Right.
information. And I
And
would say,
do you mind pulling up the bi wheel that we have?
of course, no, I don't mind. Hold on. Here we go. That's the bi-wheel.
Good. So, in case anybody was wondering, when Jay said about Saturn being in the 4th house, in our current chart for the United States as of today, Saturn is sitting at 25 degrees Pisces in the 4th house. And you'll see that at the bottom is very close to the IC. And the IC, you can kind of think about the root of all things in your chart. So our native Saturn being our natal Saturn, our birth Saturn, is in the 10th house, while the transiting Saturn is in the 4th. So it is very close to having that opposition. Actually, our natal Saturn, it's on its way to having that opposition. Not there yet. It's got to cross. It has to go across Pisces and get back into Aries for that to happen.
It will be about probably 1.5 years when you have the exact opposition.
Yeah.
Mm.
So going by that, because it is an approaching aspect once it gets out of retrograde, is that uh, we might just be seeing the beginning of all this. So this could be something that if you have the means and you have the way to find your community and to either seek out resources or to help with those resources, now would be a good time to start planning for that. Um, with Saturn in Pisces, this is one of those things where we have to get a hold on things that can be our illusions, our dreams, our delusions. So maybe the belief of some people in the homeland that we would be able to get a hold and rein in on this unabashed spending that the government said we have been doing for a very long time. And when they had the whole Doge situation and they were trying to cut spending here, there, and whatever, the problem is that they were cutting spending in a lot of departments that are actually beneficial to the majority of the people.
Well, you have to, maybe you want to go a little bit deeper into the circumstances of Saturn in the 10th house in the natal chart, because that Saturn, well, Saturn in Libra, for one, is exalted, so it actually indicates a well-functioning structural system for the United States. You know, the kind of, I mean, Saturn in itself for a country typically means the police force, anything that upholds and well, I guess actually upholds is the word. Upholds the law, makes sure things function in a system. I mean, actually, Jupiter is the one basically creating the system.
Yeah,
Saturn
the Jupiter is the lawyers, and
exactly.
Saturn is more of the
executor,
the authorities.
Yes, exactly. It's the authorities that make sure that the law is being kept and everything. So, and when you're looking at that Saturn now and being on the IC cusp, so the IC in the 4th house of a country, I would say is typically like, you know, the basic general population. This is not any like special group or anything else. It really is, you know, Joe and Annie, America. Okay, and now with Saturn coming onto that, it kind of, and actually probably even a little bit more on the poorer side, because the elite is typically, again, Jupiter. The ruling class is between Saturn and the Sun. So, but the common people and maybe the poor people would be more like on the bottom, like in the 4th house, because that usually is the like what you're made of, right?
Yeah, and the common people are typically shown by the moon.
Exactly. So, but in this case now, the moon is not part of that picture that I'm aiming for, but Saturn going into the 4th house, being on that IC, and then, you know, transiting more and more into the 4th house could bring this kind of like authoritarian form that does what the government wants, which is, you know, restricting. It is a restricting force. It is going to enforce whatever the government wants. And again, here we go with the Sun being basically the ruler of the country. That's of any country, and Venus as the ruler or the dispositor for Libra is basically kind of like doing, or is showing that the authorities are doing what the ruler of the country wants, right? So and here with the 4th house, it looks like, okay, there are going to be restrictions in what different ways. Well, there could be different things, of course. It's not just food security and SNAP at the moment, but it's expenses in general, because the Saturn is also the ruler of the 2nd house, and the 2nd house is the money and the resources of a country, as you, I think, mentioned. But we also have to keep in mind, as you said, that Saturn here is on the retrograde phase right now. And in that, it has already been in Aries before, right? So this is not like, oh wow, you know, this is the first time and we're just scratching it. No, Saturn has been already in the 4th house fully and has been in Aries, and at that it actually went into the almost exact square with that Venus in the 7th house in Cancer. So I think that kind of like caused the first rupture, if you want, or the first, I mean, we talked about this last time, that and actually our colleagues were also somehow or another, many of the talk shows right now are focused on Saturn. So
Saturn is playing big, so
I'm telling you, it's looming large, right?
Yeah, so and this is also a good segue to say, if you are wondering how our other astrological colleagues are interpreting Saturn, check out their shows. So they got a show Monday, ours is today. We got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well. So one every business day. Check it out.
Yeah, check it out. And you get completely different viewpoints. And we did not really we didn't start out saying, oh, we all need to talk about Saturn. For some reason, Saturn is just, you know, hogging the space at the moment. So
yeah, everybody thought they should be afraid of Pluto. No, Saturn is the one you want to pay attention to.
Exactly. Yeah. I think because Saturn is also much more you experience it more on a personal level. Saturn tends to be more subliminal, I think,
Yes.
and more indirect.
Oh, that's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. Whereas Saturn is more like, I mean, Jupiter and Saturn are the social planets. They they work on the social level, and they have I mean, when you look at their, like when we talk mundane astrologies, Jupiter and Saturn are the business cycle. Every 20 years they meet again in a different sign. So actually, we also just entered. We basically, for the last 200 years we were in earth signs. We just now entered the solid air sign phase. So for the next 200 years, they always will meet in air signs, which of course changes the way we will do business. It will be much more like once we get some time into the
It'll
elements,
be a little more mental and maybe a little more detached.
Exactly, and more like into communication and relationships and these kinds of things. So the way we will do business will change from being focused on the material aspects on other stuff. So, we do actually have a request or question from somebody, which
we got a question?
Oh, well, it's a question or comment, which is Saturn needs to be accounted for. Absolutely. That is correct, too. Thank you for throwing that in, Elise.
I mean, Saturn needs to be accounted for, but I guess a better question is, how do we account for Saturn?
Well, do we do it or does somebody do it? You know, again, we need to look at the fact of this is the amazing part of astrology. You always have your personal chart, which of course reflects all the planets, and you own your own Saturn in one form or another. So you're affected by it, but you also own it. Like some people are very Saturnian, right?
Right.
And then at the same time, of course, if we look at the mundane aspect of things, then we can also say, well, wait a minute, here we hold the government accountable for what its executors do, right?
Okay. So like if we're looking at this in regards to the current transiting chart, with it being in the 4th house, does that responsibility fall on the people or does that fall on the government?
I would then again think it depends on the kind of political system that you have. But I mean, in a country like the United States, where supposedly the people control the government, I would think that
supposedly.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Hold on. I have to actually do something here real quick. That was worth an explosion. Trigger
warning.
So, last Friday we had trick or treat. Today we have trigger.
Yeah, we had trick or treat. Now we have trigger warnings. Exactly. We warned you at the beginning of the show. We warned you, yes. Or at least we tried to warn you.
Well, like I said, I mean, supposedly, let's say it would be that, like in a democracy, that's why it's called democracy, the people, which is the moon, somehow would control, the government, but the government in itself is not so much Saturn again. The government, actually, the parliamentarians, typically the lawmakers, we talked about this before the show, is actually Mars, as funny as it may sound. If you look that up, you'll find out that Mars is representative of
they're Mars? I would have thought the military would have been Mars.
Well, you would think that too, and that's part of it. But we talk about the lawmakers; they're Mars. The government itself, like the ministers and the secretary of this and the secretary of that, they are Jupiter, and the ruler is the sun. Whereas Saturn, again, is the authorities, like the judicial system. Well, the judicial system, you could argue, could be Jupiterian and Saturnian. But
gotcha.
But then the police, that enforces the law, sheriffs, et cetera, all of these, like government officials, that would definitely be Saturnian.
Interesting. Okay, maybe I had that totally backwards in my head then, because I always thought they were the military and stuff was Martian in general.
Well, and then that's not incorrect. It just happens to be that, like I said, you do a little bit of a deep search on what Mars covers. You'll find out that
I'm about to go back. Like, that's going to be one of my things, because the fun thing about being on this show is that even though I think I know enough, I realize I got to go back and learn a whole bunch of other stuff to go with it. I got to be here for the people, so I got to learn all the stuff before they decide to bombard me with all these readings.
Well, exactly. But the thing is, we all learn. As a matter of fact, wonderful. Bringing it back to the personal level. When we do charts, by the way, people, yes, we all experienced astrologers, but we can tell you one thing: we learn with every chart we do. Every single person
That is the truth. Oh my
absolutely
God.
can teach you something new. Not that we don't understand it, but it's like a new or different perspective or a different look at on something. And so that can make it quite interesting. And for somebody who loves to be on a continuous learning path and understanding, of course it's also covering somewhat the psyche of people.
Hmm.
So you do not only add astrological but also psychological understanding to the whole story, and it makes it also that is so wonderful about astrology. It makes it much easier to understand strange people too, because you're like, okay, you know, it's like
Listen.
we had this conversation about some of our politicians in this world. Like, maybe we don't agree with them, maybe we don't even like them, but in a certain way, they can only be themselves too. They have their charts, and like it or dislike it, we can ask, why is this people, or why is this person in this position? That's a different question.
Yeah,
But
and that can
but
show up differently compared to somebody who might be
yeah,
either older or younger than them. They may have some of the same markers in their chart. So like maybe they have a an exalted or ruling Saturn in their
that's
chart,
exactly it. Yeah.
but their everything else may be different, and it makes the picture a completely different setup.
Very much so. And anyway, so going back to this, like we're all over the place right now,
Yeah,
right? Like
sorry. We're bringing it back
everybody
in.
goes
We're
like,
bringing it back
oh,
in.
where are you people going with this show? Like, well, we're going back to the bottom of the chart. So the fourth
Yes, bottom
house,
of the chart. We are back to the bottom of the chart.
back to that. Yes.
Uh
Take a look as far, because we were talking about food security and everything. So I would say, LaTrisha, I would like you talk, but keep
Well,
that in
because
mind
here's
that we have.
also the other thing too that I'm looking at, and I actually thought that was very interesting because we were talking about Saturn being the ruling house of the ruler of the second house, which is the
Yes,
resources, your personal
yes,
resources, and this is
absolutely,
where we are having our beloved Pluto return. So
absolutely.
think about this is like now a lot of people like to think of Pluto as our endings, our beginnings, our transformations. I think this is cleaning house. Like this is the grand, like we are knocking this thing down so we can rebuild it. However, uh, our agent of chaos is doing this in a way that is scaring a lot of people.
Hmm.
So, and I think that's where the thing with the food security is coming in too, because if you're looking at it from the fourth house, a lot of that stuff that we were believing that was going to be long lasting, Saturn also being, I don't want to say aging, but legacy to an extent
Yep.
is starting to change. We have to go back and be like, yo, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this change, but guess what? Saturn's going back into Aries at some point. So it's like ready or not, we got to start making these changes.
Well, and again, keep in mind that this Saturn is going to be square Venus as the dispositor or ruler of the so its own dispositor in the natal chart, and I keep also something that we need to explain. So a transiting planet keeps carrying the energy that it has in the natal chart. It is in a different sign, of course, and it does have the impact of the sign that it's in. But for the country or the person that experiences this, it also carries the energy of its original sign where it is in your. So it's kind of like a mix of both, right? So you
Right.
will have that. But so now looking at that again, we say, well, you do have this Saturn going back into the fourth house. When once it goes direct into Aries, the first thing it will do, it will hit what? Venus, right? It's
Hmm.
its positor in a
And then isn't
square.
Venus exalted in Pisces?
Well, but it's in Pisces, yes, but it's in. So yes, it would be like a kind of like reception and duplicity at the moment, but in Aries
Right.
it's not. In Aries, Venus obviously is in fall.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Because
Yeah,
it
so
moves
this
into
is this
Aries,
is
it
really
won't
not
be
not
exalted.
yeah not. I mean, Saturn in that case is in fall, and then Venus is not going to be in a happy place, being square to that unhappy
Saturn will be in
Saturn.
fall. Venus
Yeah,
will be,
well,
it'll
Venus
square
is
Venus, which will be
yeah Venus
Venus's
Venus in
detriment.
yeah Venus in I don't know if it's in Cancer. It might even be Peregrine. I'm not sure though. I'm not 100% certain. But the point is. now we're talking like mumbo jumbo
Yeah,
astrology, and
sorry, we're
people
getting
go
into
like, oh my
astro
god,
speak. We're gonna bring it
yeah,
back into English.
no
Promise,
more
bringing it
astro
back in
babble.
English.
But the point is that yes, this is a square that is not necessarily like there are different, like squares can be more friendly if there's a certain connectivity on other levels, but here it's really kind of like feeling alien in an alien environment, and then dealing with somebody that kind of like, which Saturn is already kind of like the grumpy old man, and he's like coming from the side at you like, hey, you lazy ass, don't you want to do your job, that kind of stuff, and you're like, okay,
Like, pull
what the
yourself
fuck?
by your bootstraps, and we got
Exactly.
no straps on our boots because y'all took them from us.
And the sixth house, that is also the common people. It's the common workers. It's the people that live by kind of like paycheck to paycheck. So
the drudgery.
exactly.
People that do the drudge work.
Exactly. It's not just the food security, but it's again it's the fourth house that is the kind of like the salt of the what do you call it, the salt of the earth or something like that, but it's also the sixth house, which is the common people, the common workers, etc. So kind of like both of that is sort of hit at the same time, and I think that is going to be felt very, very strongly. And I have a little bit of a I don't know, a stomach ache, because I also see that we have Mars sitting there in the early degrees of Sagittarius, and it's not going to be that long, and it will crawl into the first house. It will be right on the ascendant.
Yeah, we also have a Uranus return coming up too.
So there's quite a few different things that are coming up for the chart. So basically, where we're all heading with this, and when we talked about what we're going to do for this show, we were looking at all these different things. It does look like there will be like a little bit more unsettled times coming our way here in the US, and from the US.
And this is also what we mean by this great restructuring, great ungreat restructuring that is happening, because we see it in the second house. We see how it lines up with our transiting in natal Saturn for the country. We have Mars starting to go into the first house. We have Uranus about to hit its return. So a lot of this is going to be a lot of unsettling, shaking up, a lot of restructuring, for better or worse, is happening at the moment. So this is also why we said, talk to your licensed professional. That's somebody you can talk to and trust. Find your community, stay active in your community, because the worst thing you can do right now is settle into, being by yourself. This is not a time to be by yourself.
Well, that is number one. And another one is with these energies. And again, some people are more affected than others. But when you're personally affected by these kinds of energies, do not try to hold on to dear life and try to keep everything together the way you're used to, because that usually is the worst you can do. Because you have to imagine it like being in the storm, and you have to be a palm tree that goes with the wind. If you're an oak tree that doesn't, then you break. That is something.
You get more damage from oaks than you do from palms.
Exactly. So just try to keep that picture. If you feel you're in the storm or something, try to find somebody who can help you. I don't want to say FEMA, because I don't know if that's really a big help often.
I'm about to say FEMA, I don't even think exists anymore. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, what did FEMA ever do? They were just trying to do their jobs, and sometimes the government wouldn't even let them do that. Exactly.
Well, somebody has to make money. Anyway, so
I guess.
The point is that, so yes, please, that's why you have professionals that are, and also like we keep saying, astrology can really give you a very clear answer on many, many questions that even the licensed professionals might not have all the information to help. And, if you have a pressing question, horary charts give you a yes or no answer. What you do with that, that's your business, but you will get an answer, and it usually is pretty good. I was doing that with LaTrisha actually the last couple of days, where I showed her a horary chart that I just recently did, and it was so on the money, on the spot. So I can really only recommend anybody, if you have pressing questions, come to the website, get your answers. Now, before we continue, let me do another little jingle here. Here comes another question from our audience.
Oh, we got another one. Yay. Oh, snap. Are we getting questions? Are any of the other shows getting questions? Because we got two.
No, we have more. There's a whole string, so I didn't want to.
What?
Yes, I didn't.
I want to see.
Well, you can't. I'm the host.
Boo!
Only studio hosts can see those.
Boo!
Well, Tell StreamYard. So the question is, what does the US having a Jupiter chart ruler conjunct Venus in the natal 7th house and so close to the 8th house cusp? I think there's something missing in that question, but
I think they want to know what does it mean.
Yeah, what does it mean exactly?
Yeah.
So maybe we want to go back to the birth chart real quick.
Okay.
So this is what we're talking about. So here we have the Venus, Jupiter sitting in kind of like the 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock position, right? When we talk about a clock. So right next to the sun, which is that, round thing with the dot in the middle. So these are the 3 planets we're talking about. So what do you say? What is your 2 cents worth?
Because Jupiter and Venus are your benefics of the chart. So when we tend to think about our benefics, these are the things that we want to say are bringing the good to us, so long as they are in good favor. Because one of the things that a lot of people will not tell you about the planets, yes, you can have good planets, you can have bad planets, but you can have bad planets that work in a good way and good planets that work in a bad way. So you want to make sure that your good planets are working in a good way. And Jupiter is in rulership. Venus, I don't think Venus is exalted. No, it's not exalted because it's exalted in Pisces. But the two of them together so far, lovely space. They're both next to the sun. But here's the thing. Because they are next to the sun, they are under the beam. So that can weaken them just a little bit. 7th house being your relations, your partnerships. So this could be how the country itself interacts with others. What are those 2 planets connected to? They're connected to the moon. How do they interact with the people?
Hold your horses there for a moment.
Okay. Sorry. Am I speaking too fast?
Before you're in a stampede. Well, because the 7th house, of course, is in Gemini, right? And it's ruled by the Mercury, which is also in Cancer, of course, but on the other end of the spectrum. And it's retrograde. Something to look at, actually. And it's in the 8th house.
You missed that part.
Yes. Plus, you also have to keep in mind, I mean, it's great to have don't get me wrong, it's great to have this Jupiter Venus conjunction there. They are the 2 benefics of the chart. But also we have Uranus right on the descendant, and that also could make for somebody or for a trading partner, well, I don't want to say any names, but sometimes honesty trumps anything else. So we do sometimes have some irregularities in trading where people go like, okay, today we have 100% trade tariffs and tomorrow we don't, and we're bringing, we're punishing you for that, and then you don't, and
that Uranus is also connected to the South Node.
Absolutely. So something. And now coming back to your question, Lise, I think that's actually a really good one because I have looked into that quite a bit. And trigger warning, explosion coming. This actually, to me, signifies the constant expansion that the U.S. is under, that it constantly tries to add more land, more control under its wings, because Cancer likes to have everything secure. And Cancer is also the shrewd businessman.
And it's also about the home.
And it's also about the home.
We want a bigger house.
And
we want a nicer house.
Expanding. And what does it expand into? Well, it's the 8th house, other people's resources, other people's money, right?
Ooh, that's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Well, So just saying, when you look at the history of the United States since its inception, what did it do? It continuously expanded and added, right? It's kind of like oh my God, another trigger warning. Nobody please be offended, but it's kind of like the fat man never getting enough. Like you're having like an eating disorder, and it's like you just need to, like, you eat for the purpose of eating, basically, because that's the only thing you know. So again, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, just saying as an actual identified disorder, this is something that exists.
Yes. Right?
And this is a little bit of the U.S. issue here. Plus, of course, with this Mars in the 7th house, it's like, okay, if I can't get it peacefully in trading,
I'm going to take it.
Exactly. We have the moon down here in the 3rd house, trade and everything else, doing business. If I can get it that way, great. But if I can't, hey, I don't mind putting my military to the use.
Like,
so
I don't mind making stuff work.
Absolutely. So, and let's continue real quick. I'm just going to go through the different comments that we have, and maybe LaTrisha, you can give me one or the other, like 2 cents or feedback or whatever your thoughts are.
All right, let's go.
Then Mars transiting the 12th house she says, gives me subterfuge. Like, what kind of hidden motives are going on?
Oh,
What
let's
is
switch
what is
back to
it?
the bi wheel for that one.
Yeah, well, exactly. We get to that in a moment, actually.
Okay.
And then, of course, yeah, with the moon in Aries dispositing, absolutely, that's true. Yes, so that Mars and everything is playing a role at the moment.
Mhm.
And yes, we also do have to. Let's switch back to that other chart. So we have to buy. Actually, we have when we do the current chart, makes it a little bit. So this was the chart that we drew. That is the current chart, basically
Yes.
the US. But the bi-wheel, so don't get whiplash, please. So now we do the bi-wheel again, and this is what the comment is talking about. We do
Yes. So
have
the inner chart is the U.S. birth chart. The outer chart is the transits for
exactly, and
anybody who's taking score.
exactly, and there in the 12th house is also Lilith, because that is the next question. Lilith also
Mm.
transiting in the 12th house is a major dark night of the soul energy. So the country, if you wanna, if you wanna like summarize it in a way, there's a lot of like hidden stuff going on. I mean, the Plutonian, excuse me, the Plutonian, what do you call it?
The conjunction,
No, I mean the when you go full circle, the oh,
circular activity,
no, like not the retrograde, the return, the Pluto
return.
return,
Yes.
the Pluto return after 248 years just happened a couple of years ago, and usually until
Mhm.
like again, Pluto is a slow working mechanism, and it's
So
very
slow.
sublime to start with. It's not in the open. It is the after all, it's the Lord of the underworld. And it
Hmm.
takes some time to become visible, to come out to the light. And by the way, that's usually the best thing that can happen when it comes to light. But we do have stuff going on in the 12th house, as we see. Saturn is also known as the Grim Reaper in one of its incarnations. So
Hmm.
we do have that going on. So there are a lot of things going on that affect the US chart. And sorry for everybody who's listening internationally that we focus so much on the US, but of
We're
course
kind
the
of going
US,
through things here, so if you
it
guys got
is.
an issue you want us to talk about, email us. Email us. We'll talk about it.
Absolutely. And actually, we did talk also about in our preparations, and this will
Yeah,
come
we
up in the
did.
coming week, by the way, as a little sneak peek into the future coming weeks. What we're going to do is kind of the relationship between Saturn being also the father, being, UK being in Capricorn, and Saturn being like the father figure, and then the US being in Cancer. So that it's kind of like the offspring, if you
It's not.
want.
Yeah, it's not just they're two opposite sides. Is that Cancer? I'm not Cancer. The UK is the quintessential father of the
Yeah,
United States. So what
absolutely.
happens? Because the UK has been around way longer than the United States has, at least in some rendition. So the question is, how does their experiences, especially with going through a Pluto return, looks like versus ours?
Absolutely. And it goes a step deeper, because when you look at that, and again, we're kind of like going into the one of the future talk shows already, but just as a quick interesting thought to develop until then, for example, we talk about the legal system that has been taken over by the from the UK by the US. We have the common law system, which is the UK is the only country in Europe that has common law. Everything else is Code Napoleon, which, by the way, Louisiana also has.
Hmm.
So yeah, when you look at it from that perspective, so and then again, basically the system was taken over from Britain. There were amendments made to the way we elect people in the country and how we use government in itself, but the judicial system and all that pretty much is still like the law of the land. Excuse me, is pretty much still like the British.
Hmm.
So of course the question could also be, with this Pluto return that we're having, okay, in how much do we actually really get off the umbilical cord from Britain for good now, and really find our own path? Or because there's still, I mean, many of the financial world and others, and where do we have Pluto in the second house? Financial world is still kind of controlled and ruled from Britain. So
Ah.
yeah, many
Oh
of the
yeah,
big banks are still
that
sitting
is
in Britain.
true. I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that. Wow.
So like I said, there's many things that could be looked at, but I don't want to go too far into what we're looking at into the future.
Yeah, that's next week. Next
At
week.
next week. So let's continue here. Yeah, FEMA is cooked. Absolutely. Well, that's why we're saying it's like, yeah, whatever happens with
Yeah.
FEMA, right?
R.I.P. FEMA.
Gluttony, absolutely. Gluttony is one of the sins, and you know what? Every single one of the planets sorry, I'm jumping here right now. But yeah, Elise, gluttony is one of the deadly sins, and gluttony
Hmm.
obviously fits Jupiter quite a bit.
Yeah,
Venus
and Jupiter's in rulership.
and Venus is vanity. The Sun
Hmm.
is pride. Moon is sloth,
The moon
and
is slow. That's interesting.
the Moon is sloth. Yeah, and
Considering how fast it goes.
Mercury is envy. By the way, Mercury is
Ah,
envy.
interesting.
Yep, and Saturn is.
Would
Hey,
that
what
be
was that?
would that be pride? Which one is
No, pride.
pride?
Pride is the Sun.
Pride is the sun. So Wrath is Mars.
Yes, Wrath is Mars. Aye, Saturn. I
Greed
should
is
definitely know. Wrath.
vanity.
Wrath. No, Wrath is Mars. Vanity. God damn it! Excuse my language.
Now I gotta think. I know we're missing one, and I'm trying to think of what it is.
Yeah. Anyway,
Greed.
so yeah, every one of the deadly sins is basically one of the planet's dark sides, right? So
Huh.
yeah,
I'm really about to look that up.
the same applies to the virtues, by the way. So each planet, like we always talk about the planets having their different sides. So they in our religious mode, if you want, we have each planet has a virtue, one of the known virtues, and one of the known deadly sins.
So what would be? Well, okay, we're gonna have to figure
Avarice,
that.
avarice.
What is avarice?
Avarice is when you're cheap, you don't spend.
Huh?
Avarice, yeah.
I have never heard of avarice.
Averice. Look it up. Come on, you're quick
Pride,
with your hands.
pride,
Avarice
greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, sloth.
and avarice.
Avarice would make 8.
Yeah. So a like ave avarice.
No. I'm saying avarice would make 8, an eighth sin. So you got pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony,
Greed.
wrath, and sloth.
Greed.
Oh, greed. But greed would be Jupiter, wouldn't it?
No, that's gluttony.
Oh, okay.
Saturn sits. That's like Scrooge. Saturn sits on his money. Doesn't want to let go. That's also avarice.
Okay. I see.
Avarice is the Latin word for greed.
Gotcha. I'm American. I didn't know that.
Hey, that's just the. I mean, you actually all of these are. I know them in Latin and I know them in English. There you go. So
Anyway,
this deserves.
that was a good one.
Come on, laugh a little more.
That was a good one. Okay, so we know that. So we got Saturn as avarice / greed,
Yes.
and Jupiter is gluttony.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. So I'm here. I'm ready. All right, let's keep going with the comments.
Exactly. So those are those fun. Yeah. See, exactly. You got them. We have pride, wrath, greed, covetousness. Exactly. Envy, lust, and slush. Lust is
Venus.
Venus. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, greed, covetousness, avarice. That's all Saturn. Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's it. Females cook. Yeah, I guess we got through that part now. So the comments are subsiding a little bit right now.
Okay.
I think Elise has to reload. So
people coming at least. But I thought whoever said the thing about Lilith being in the 12th house, I actually thought that was pretty interesting because Lilith is sitting in Scorpio right now, so it's fixed and focused.
Well, yeah, and it is in the 12th house. I mean, it's stirring the pot somewhere in the dark. Being disowned, sort of like nobody wants.
Like I feel like it's sitting there doing this number, and
remember,
just
the 12th house is the preparation for being born, right? So
right.
We have Mars in there, and we have Mercury in there, and we have Lilith in there. So all of this is waiting to be born at the moment to come into light, and this is going to hit one after another.
Yeah, so it's rubbing its hands together, just waiting to do something so that Mars can pop off because Mars is at a 0 degree.
Yep.
So should be interesting times. Guard your dome, as they say.
Well, we were talking about it actually. So I also wanted to say that. So you said Mercury retrograde at the beginning of the show. It actually will be retrograde on the 8th. So this
Okay.
in
We
4
got
days.
like another 4 days. Ugh.
Yes.
So we're like in the stationing shadow. Ugh.
Sort of, yeah.
Ugh.
Obviously, we will experience all this on our way back with Mercury. So
I
maybe
hate
we
it.
want to talk Mercury retrograde real quick. So before the Mercury here in this chart in our overlay, before it hits actually the natal ascendant of the United
Mm.
States, it will move backwards back into the 12th house. So the press, the media will not come out yet with whatever news are brewing in the underground, right?
Oh,
So
that makes sense because now it's got to be like, yo, wait a minute. Maybe we should rethink about this for a little bit. And
yeah.
then it'll be like, nah, we're just going to go with it.
So something is still brewing, and who knows what that is. But yeah, that Mercury actually will go back to 20-degree Scorpio. So and then it will be sometime in the middle of December, or maybe even the end of December before it crosses the 8-degree Sagittarius. And
Yeah.
actually, that will be interesting to see what will come out at that time. Maybe everybody wants to pay attention. But you know what? We wanted to get back to that food security and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
All right. Yeah.
So
Because we got a few minutes left. So let's talk about that food
yes.
security real quick. So we were talking about food security in this case being ruled by Venus. Um, Venus actually, interesting enough, is trining its transiting Venus in the 11th house.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with transiting Venus is trying to find that fairness. So maybe it realized, like, especially with the way things had turned out for Snap, because there has been news that there have been judges that are trying to put the kibosh on it and be like, hey, this is unconstitutional. You cannot do this. And so the problem with that is that yes, they were able to halt the SNAP benefits being taken away, but the current government has essentially been saying that we're not going to be able to give everything back. They can get like half of the benefits. If I'm remembering correctly, somebody that's listening in the comments, you guys may have to correct me on that, but I believe it's like partial give back, because once they took it back, I think the money got redistributed to other things, or it just got taken out completely. So it may be months before full benefits come back into play. So with that transiting Venus being in Libra, can I have that chart back up? Oh yeah, boom. We need a mic drop sound effect. Do we got that? I think he's trying to pull it up. We got it. If not, I'll just find something to drop. So, trying to think what else can we take from that. Actually, I might be able to pull up my thing because I think the system has taken Jay away from me for a hot second. So let me bring it up on my end. Oh wait, is he back?
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back.
Jay,
I'm
are
back.
you there?
Yeah. Yeah.
There he is.
I'm
I
always
thought I
gone
lost you
when
again, my friend.
no. It's like I said, I removed myself from stage and I'm not audible anymore for some reason. So
Oh yeah, no,
um
don't do that. I need you, Jay. You can't leave me just yet.
but sometimes what do they say? Absence make the heart grow fonder or something like
My
that.
heart is
So
already fine. You can't leave me, Jay. Don't go, Jay.
yeah, okay. I'll be here until the end. So what was the question?
Oh, I was asking if you could bring up the bi will again.
The bi-wheel, yes.
Yes, there we go. So we were looking at transiting Venus and natal Venus. Natal Venus being the ruler of the sixth house, and transiting Venus currently in Libra right now. So transiting Venus is in rulership. So I think there's going to be a strong push for balance, especially because it comes in large groups. The sun is also in the 11th house, even though it is in Scorpio. So in terms of the sun, I'm not sure how that would work in terms for food security, unless that's just the focus on just trying to
Well, I mean,
maintain what we already have.
keep in mind that we're talking about a situation where the sun in a country represents the ruler of the country. So that
Ah.
in this situation would be, the golden golem of greatness, right? So
Mhm.
Mr. Trump. Therefore, it looks like he's moving into the 12th house soon, is going to meet with all these illustrious guests there, starting with Lilith, then meeting
Mhm.
Mars, then on the way back, from a little touch with the ascendant comes back Mercury, the media. So, like I said, it's very interesting. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, right? That we just
Question, because that
remember also that Mars is the lawmakers. The
law
lawmakers are in the 12th house at the moment. And what
the
do we
lawmakers
see?
are in the 12th house.
Yeah,
So that sun, it'd be like in the 12th house within the next, what, 8, 9, 10 days?
well, longer than that. I mean, when do we get to 8-degree Sagittarius? It's like the end of November, right? It would be.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about Sagittarius. I'm talking about the sun moving into the 12th.
Well, we'll move into the 12th house on the, what's the cusp of the 12th house? 19 degrees?
18
Yeah,
degrees.
18, yeah, it's like 6 days.
6 days. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, we might be able to revisit this next week.
Possibly. I mean, it will be interesting to see what's going to happen. But keep in mind, like I said, with Mars in the 12th house, that's exactly what we experience. Supposedly, Congress is negotiating and nothing seems to be moving, right?
Right. And there might be some backwalking because Mercury will be in retrograde by then.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So, but the interesting part is this Mercury is going to retrograde across Mars. So they're going to meet again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what, I mean, that would, again, it would take a lot more analysis than what we prepared for, because we were looking at Saturn and food supplies and resources and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, again, you guys see, it is making it really, really interesting to do this astrology, because when you actually understand the energies that come along with those planets, you can kind of figure out what's happening, even if the news are not necessarily giving you the straight answers. And of course, politicians, you don't even need to ask. They never give you straight answers. So, but the chart does.
And that is true.
Yeah, and that is true for your personal life, and it's true for, the larger picture. And that's why, again, we say, if you have questions, come to us. Astromegistus.com is the place to go.
I have something to propose, Jay. Should you choose to accept it or not? And this could be something that may be of the interest to the audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be open to us taking a brief look at this next week?
At what?
The current U.S. chart, just to see if anything from the news pops up. So now we're looking at the sun moving into the 12th house. We know Mercury is going to be retrograding. So my astrological brain likes to see how things are set up in the chart and wait to see how that looks.
Yeah.
As it's coming up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course we can.
So that might be an interesting bit. And even if we're not able to do it on the show, this might be a fun exercise for the audience as well. Somebody can be like, hey, I remember us talking about this on the show, and XYZ either did or did not come up. So that could be something to look at.
And before we close the show, actually, Elise is asking one additional question, which is that today is election day for the New York mayoral race and a few other things.
And also for Georgia.
Okay.
Also for Georgia, if you don't want to continue to pay exorbitant power prices, you should definitely go out and vote, because that election is this one right here.
Okay, and so the additional question that she asks is how is the transiting Saturn retrograde on the IC affecting this, and of course it's a Neptune MC approaching. Elise, if I may answer that real quick. So to me, the Neptune on the MC is really the American dream, rags to riches, that kind of stuff. Also Hollywood.
I think it's trying to hold on to the American dream.
Exactly. And well, also it's maybe it says we need to have a serious look at the American dream again, because also we had a Neptune opposition, right? So I think there was a lot going on the last few years about the American dream. What is the American dream? Do we need to redefine that American dream? What realistically is the American dream? Can I still go from washing dishes to becoming
Can
a
we
millionaire?
go from rags to riches?
Exactly.
Is there even an actual American dream, or was it all BS?
A pipe dream, exactly. Was it an American dream or a pipe dream? Yes.
That.
And it goes where the pipe go. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, trigger warning.
Man. Just so, we gotta slide them out. Just trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning.
Exactly. So we do cover quite a bit of stuff here, as we see. And what could that mean for election day? Hard to tell.
Ooh. That's a good question.
Hard to tell. I mean, it depends on, you're looking at candidates that are, I don't know, that guy in New York. I have seen some comments about it. Some people think he's way too communist oriented. Other people think he's like great. So for me, it's hard to have an opinion because I'm not directly affected, nor have I paid that much attention lately.
I would say for the guy in New York, and this is just my not so humble opinion, I think he's great for the common person. But unfortunately, the money is the one that makes all the rules, and he is not great for them, if that makes sense. So in terms of getting people more stable so that they can, a lot of people actually do want to work and be, contributors to society. But when you have basic things like SNAP and housing and stuff where you can't afford to even do the basics of stuff, you have no energy into being a contributing person of society. You know what I mean?
Well, I totally agree with you. And the question to me is since you brought it up, at least, we do also have, in addition, that trine between Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. That is, and also Lilith is part of that trine as well. It's called a grand trine. And that is actually a very stable energy to have in a chart. So in a sense, that is currently stable. So I don't know if that actually would rock the boat in the sense of, bringing something completely different into the world. So, but that would mean you really have to go in and do a political analysis on the situation. Would have to look at that mayoral's candidates, natal chart, like the people that are out, then we also would have to take a look at what's going on in Atlanta, in Georgia. So to make a statement just based on a Saturn retrograde or something like that, that would be, as far as local elections and all that goes, I think that's a little bit too far reaching. But I don't think that is possible. But in general, even though we do have all these different things going on with this grand water trine, we actually do have an underlying solid foundation. That is something that we also should keep in mind. We sometimes end up doing like doom and gloom and everything else, because transformation is, and change.
It's ugly at first.
Yeah, exactly.
But we hope for it to be the better.
Exactly. But we also have to take a look at what is the positive things. And sometimes maybe it's not even positive, but what does it, what it holds it together, basically. Even if something is a negative, it doesn't, nothing flies off the handles yet, So that it might become unglued once we have Mars, moving out of the grand trine and all that. But at the moment, it's pretty much a harmoniously flowing energy that we have. So that usually is not disrupted so easily. So it looks like the lawmakers, actually, if you look at it from a mundane and political perspective, if we take Mars as the lawmakers, Jupiter as the government, and Saturn as the enforcer, then it looks like they all actually work very well together, hand in glove. It doesn't look like there's really that much of a disagreement. So the disagreement might be a little bit of a show, actually.
We'll see in the next couple of weeks.
Exactly. Yes. So, but yeah, as far as the show, as far as these elections goes, I really wouldn't want to make any decision or any statement here. But
yeah, it's kind of hard with elections, especially because we're looking at the chart of a country rather than, the person or the electoral, college or whatever it would be for that state and city.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of it too. So you never know. There might be some favorite YouTuber out there that's tackling that. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yep, we do have to wait and see. I do have to run. We do have to run. We have to
Yes,
close
we
the
do
show.
have to run. Yeah, we
Yes,
went over a little bit.
our technicians are already like turning off the light in the background. So
Oh yeah, no, we gotta go. We gotta slide.
yeah, they want to have they want to have overtime payment otherwise. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. It was a fun show. Hopefully, it was entertaining for everybody listening in and anybody listening in the future. And again, thank you very much. We'll be here again next week, Tuesday, with a continuation of this topic, Saturn and the government and what happened, and how does the current states affect everything. Any last words?
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with anybody who wants to get in touch with us from Blast of the Past. We are taking questions, we are taking comments, likes, concerns, whatever it is. Lay it on us. If it's an interesting topic, we'll get to it. So thank you, Jay. I am LaTrisha, and until next time, everybody take care of yourselves. Don't forget to drink some water.
Exactly. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.